This video is to help you review for the Unit 2 test. Keep in mind, any of the types of questions that we already reviewed with the quiz review will also be on the test. These are just additional types of problems that would make you aware of other questions that may be on the test. Again, you can copy these into your workbook to use as example problems. So for the first type, -6 plus 4 plus -10 times 2. So you're going to want to think about order of operations as you do this. So first of all, you're going to do your multiplication before you do your addition. So you could do a rewrite on this to be -6 plus 4 plus -10 times 2 would be -20. Then you could figure this out by either using integer tiles, putting 6 negative signs, 4 positives, 20 negative signs, making 0 pairs, seeing what you have remaining. You could do it on a number line, start at -6, go forward 4, go back 20, whatever you think would work the best for you. But your final answer here would be -22. -22. For the second type, you have to convert the decimal to a percent. And remember, to change a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal point 2 places to the right and add a percent sign. So it would be 209.8%, or 209.8%. To convert from a percent to a decimal, you do the opposite. So you go back 2 decimal places and drop the percent sign. So it would end up being 5. Switch back to a color that stands out again. 5 and 2,361 10,000ths. Moving the decimal point 2 places to the left and dropping the percent sign gives you that. You'll also have to rewrite a percent as a fraction in simplest form and as a decimal. So 160% as a fraction would be 160 hundredths, because we know percents are out of 100. That's an improper fraction, but that's okay, because they said to write it as a fraction. So then you would want to simplify that. You could divide both top and bottom by 2. You could divide them both by 10, by 20. Ideally, you want to divide by the largest factor in both if you want to do it in one step. Oops. Which would be, pardon me, not 40, 20. So we can divide them both by 20, top and bottom. And when we divide 160 by 20, we're going to get 8. And when we divide 100 by 20, we're going to get 5. So the improper fraction in simplest form would be 8/5. Or if they wanted a mixed number, that would be 1 3/5. Again, if you would not have come up with 20, remember it's okay to do it in multiple steps. You could divide by 2 again, and so forth until you got to that simplest format. But 3 is really bad looking, I apologize. As far as the decimal goes, 160 hundredths would be like this. All right. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not sure I would come up with that. This is 160 hundredths, but you could also, again, write it as a decimal by simply moving the decimal point 2 places to the left and dropping a percent sign. Again, we would often drop that non-essential 0 as well. To rewrite 4% as a fraction in simplest form and as a decimal, 4% as a fraction would be 4 hundredths. Again, you could divide both by 2 top and bottom, and then by 2 again, or if you recognize that 4 is actually the GCF, you can divide by 4 top and bottom and do it in one step. 4 divided by 4 is 1, 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 1/25 would be the fraction in simplest form. And as far as the decimal goes, 4 hundredths is just putting a 4 in the hundredths place. Now remember what that means is if this is in the hundredths place, you need to have a 0 here as a place marker. So 4 hundredths, the 4 is in the hundredths place, 0 in the tenths. Or, we've talked about before, you can move your decimal point 2 places to the left and drop your percent sign. That would also get you 4 hundredths. Another type of question that'll be on the test would be identifying the length of the missing section. So you're going to want to first find the difference between the two of these. So 60 minus 20 will tell you the length of the difference between them. Pardon me, 60 minus 24 will tell you the length between them. And 60 minus 24 would be a difference of 36. Then you're going to count how many spaces there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that tells you that 36 for a length is divided into 6 parts, which means each section is 6. So if this section is 6, and so is this, and so is this, adding those together, we find out that the total length of the missing section is 18. So our final answer there is 18. For the sequence, what are the next 3 numbers in the pattern, and explain the pattern in words? So what's happening here is we're going down by 4, so subtracting 4 or adding negative 4, down by 4 again. So if we go down another negative 4, again, you can maybe picture on a number line, but 2 minus 4 or 2 plus negative 4, or again, think of it as a number line. The next value would be negative 2. If you go down another 4 units from that to the left, you're going to end up at negative 6. And if you go 4 more units down from that, you're going to end up at negative 10. So that would be the next 3 numbers in the pattern. As far as explaining the patterns in words, you could say add negative 4, or you could say subtract 4. Those 2 ideas are the same. Adding a negative 4 and subtracting 4 are the same. Then it says if you started at 0.16 and went left 3 units and down 7 units, what coordinate would you be at? So you can do this in a couple different ways. One is you could actually graph it. You could take and find the 0.16, although you'd want to be very accurate about that. So graph paper might be better there. And then you could move it to the left 3 units and down 7 units and see where it lands. The other way you could do it is that you can look at each motion as it relates to the original point. So what I mean by that is right now it's at 1 on the horizontal axis. If you go left 3 units, think about if you're at 1 and you're going to the left 3 units on a number line, where are you going to land? You're going to land at negative 2. Okay. If you're at 6 on a number line and you're going down 7 units, you're going to land at negative 1. So you can either graph it, go to the left 3, down 7, and you will show that you land at negative 2, negative 1, although again, you may want to be more accurate and use graph paper for that. Or you can say, I'm going to take my x coordinate and think about what happens if I move that to the left 3 units, meaning subtract 3. And I'm going to take my y coordinate and think about what happens when I take that down 7 units, subtract 7, and then I'll have my new coordinates for the location. What is the mode of these values? Remember, the mode is the value that occurs the most. So if it's not in your workbook already, you may want to put the definition of mode, which is the value that occurs the most. And in this case, there is no mode. That is possible. It is possible to have no mode, meaning none of them occur any more often than the others. All right, and then in this one, what is the mode? So you have 12 coming up twice and 13 coming up twice. The others only occur once. So the mode would be 12 and 13. So I intentionally came up with these questions for you to make sure that you understand what happens when you don't have any value that occur more often. It's no mode, and that you can have more than one mode. In this case, 12 and 13 are both modes. You'll also have to, for the test, complete the tick marks. So it's again similar to what you did when you found the length of the missing section. You start by finding the distance between the 2 values that you know. All right, well, 21 to 30 means there's a total length here of 9. Again, if you're not sure how I got that, that was just subtracting 30 minus 21. Then I would divide that by the fact that there are 3 spaces between them. So that means that I'm going up by 3s, and that's coming from right here, going up by 3s on this number line. So that means this would be 21 plus 3 or 24. This would be 24 plus 3 or 27. Adding 3 to this gives me 30. So I know I've got these part filled in correctly because it lines up. 21 minus 3 means this value must be 18. 18 minus 3 means this value must be 15. 30 plus 3 means this value is 33. And 33 plus 3 means this value is 36. So that would be completing the tick marks, filling in the values for those marks. If Cecil had to cross a tightrope length of 17 feet using lengths of 4 and 5, what number sentence would get him there? So remember, we did this earlier on the classwork and homework. You have to make a length of 17. You can only use a value of 4 or 5, although you can use positive or negative, and you can repeat them. So you could do something like 5 plus 5 plus 5. Okay, well, now you'd be at 15. You could add another 5. Now you'd be at 20. You could do a minus 4 or add a negative 4. So now you'd be at 16. You could add another 5. You'd be at 21. And you could do another negative 4 and you'd be at 17. So you kind of play around with that a bit. But what my reasoning was is I knew the difference between these were 1s. So therefore, if I took 15 and added 1 and 1 again, I'd be at 17. So that was how I sort of reasoned that out. But again, there's other ways I'm sure that would work as well. But you have to be able to come up with a number sentence that uses only 4 and 5 or negatives, and we'll have this correct length. So those are the types of questions that'll be on the test that were not necessarily already on the quiz review.